2nd, 2022 edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. The Digital Career Success Series, DCSS, is a professional development series that helps members of the Urban League's young professional chapters and other diverse job seekers develop new skill sets that will enhance their careers through digital platforms such as webinars and Facebook Live and Instagram. The goal is to provide an opportunity for professional development right from one's computer. Today's Digital Career Success Series, Career Transitions, features Julia Rock. All right, so let me just start right here. I'm so excited to have this young lady on the platform today. I've worked with Julia in the past on a couple different levels. Actually, we did something for, and she'll have to correct me, I can't remember what magazine, but that was with Kanika Tolver. We've worked on the New York Urban League's platform together before, delivering career workshops. I have the utmost respect for Julia and her talents and the work she does at Rock Career Development. So Julia, welcome to the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I'm so glad that I'm here with you today. You know, we've been trying to do this link up for a while, and we made it though. We made it, and it was Entrepreneur. That's what we did with
okay.
It was
Entrepreneur magazine. Yeah, we killed that too, by the way. Letitia Bird, shout out to her, Kanika Tolver. That was crazy. But we're here today on the Digital Career Success Series platform, and I guess we're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about career transitions. I'm going to let you do what you do. But before we get into all of that, let our audience know who Julia Rock is.
Absolutely. So I'm excited. Hello, everyone who's on the call today. So I'm Julia Rock. I'm the CEO of Rock Career Development. I'm a career coach and strategist. And what do? I help athletes, so basketball athletes at the pro and student level who are seeking to transition out of sports. I help them to translate their existing skills from sports into high-paying, in-demand careers. And so for years, I was helping corporate professionals since 2013, officially on paper, since 2006, unofficially. And so last year in 2021, I decided to make the shift to help Black and brown basketball players have more career options where they can get paid and still have a purpose. So I'm really excited about today's conversation because that's really what I do. It's career transitions. It's about helping you to get from one career into a new one.
Get paid and still have a purpose. I love that. I just love that. I think I'm going to use that actually. I think I can work around that and create another workshop. Might need to
Come on now.
Yeah, right.
Come on, East Coast executives. We're going to weave that into the recruiting strategy.
I'm going to weave it in. We're going to get it done. Black box, East Coast. Somebody's going to hear that. Somebody's definitely going to hear it. So look, Julia, we have some synergies. I know you spent some time in Philadelphia representing Temple University and doing what you do. I just love the transition into working with athletes, and I'm going to let you get into what you do. But what made you personally decide to pivot in that direction?
Man, so like I said, I was coaching career professionals for a long time. And it just so happened that one professional that I was coaching, her brother was playing overseas. He had played in the NBA for a couple of different teams and then played overseas. And then she said, hey, he's coming back and he's going to need a job. Would you mind working with him? Never worked with basketball players before. And we worked together, and it was just, for me, it was so rewarding. It was just so rewarding being able to help someone, all the light bulbs start going off. For people who have been in corporate, there's certain things we already know how to navigate. But for these athletes who all they've done is sports, they've never been in a 9-to-5 environment. They've never really had to interview or have a resume or anything. And so walking him through that process and showing him that the skills that he has can translate into another opportunity, it was just so rewarding for me. And then I realized there's a whole kind of sector of the market that's in this same position, right? Because career professionals, career coaches are a dime a dozen, so it's like, but for this sector, it's just underserved. And especially for the athletes who look like me, who don't have, trust funds and nest eggs and things when they leave the league, and not everybody has LeBron or Steph Curry contracts, you know what I mean? So for those folks who will still need employment, how can I help them to find careers where, like I said, you can get paid, but still have a purpose?
Yeah, I can really appreciate that from a lot of different perspectives, because in a certain sense, although they have experience, when you're kind of working with a clean slate and teaching transferable skills and things of that nature, and I think that's valuable. And I'm sure that probably will be part of your conversation today as we move forward. Look, Julia, they pushing me. We got people, Houston, Louisville, Kentucky, VA Beach, of course, Harlem is in the building. Appreciate y'all. I know Brooklyn's here representing with Julia, but I'm gonna let them keep chiming in. Please leave your questions in the Q&A, and I'll get them to Miss Rock. But right now, we're gonna let Julia move forward with her presentation. Let's do it.
Awesome. Let's hop in, guys. Let's get the pens and the pads ready. And if anybody's from Brownsville, Brooklyn, just drop that in the chat, because I'm from Brownsville. I'm from Saratoga and Pitkin. If anybody's from Brownsville, I would love to see that in the chat. But let's go ahead and hop into it. So today we're going to talk about transitioning to career success. How can you make sure that you have a successful career transition and making sure that you're achieving your full career potential, even if you want to shift from where you are now to a new industry? So let's go ahead and get to the next slide. So what are we going to talk about today? The first thing I really want to hop into are the common reasons for career transitions. And you'll have a chance to see if you fall into any of these common reasons, and that's why you're here today. And if any of them resonate with you when you hear some of these reasons, feel free to drop them in the chat. And then the next thing is we're going to talk about my 3-step model for transition success. So if you've never seen me before, I focus on tangible, actionable things. And I always like to use a model or a framework so that it can resonate with you. And then the last thing is I'm going to give you a pep talk. I'm going to give you a pep talk, something for you to go forth and conquer. And then we're going to wrap up, of course, and then have some questions and answers. So please make sure that you're taking your questions down so that Kenneth and I can talk through them.
You know what? I'm laughing. This is like a workout. Like it's like you did this like a workout, right? Julia's a fitness addict. If you follow any of her social, you're going to see that clearly. But I'm looking at the way you set this up, and I'm like, oh, this is how somebody would set up a workout. Okay, I get it.
Exactly. Warm it up. We're going to get into it, and it'll cool you down. So, but if there's any fitness fanatics out here, please also drop that in the chat. I work out 6 days a week, so I don't know if anybody out there is with me on that. But we could go ahead and hop into the next slide. So here are some of the common reasons for career transition. Or if you're thinking about, is it time for me to make a transition? And so I've got 5 main reasons here. The first one is that you're underutilized. You're feeling underutilized. And what does that mean? You're feeling like I'm not being used to my full potential at work. My skills are not being used. I have a degree in X, Y, and Z, and they just have me making widgets or pushing paper. I don't feel like my skills are really being valued in my organization. You're undercompensated. So let's talk about coins, right? So, because you have to think about it with the career transitions and the Great Resignation and so forth, and because of the pandemic, people are now evaluating, am I getting paid what I'm worth? Are my skills being used the way that I want? So the pandemic has helped us to think through, am I truly getting what I want out of work? And if not, is it time for me to transition? And coins are a big part of that. Are you getting paid what your value is? When you look at your paycheck and you look at the growth of your paycheck over the past, say, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, are you seeing the growth? And perhaps you're not, and that's a reason for you to transition. You're underwhelmed. So back in the day, so pre-pandemic, we all were punching a clock, we were commuting, and we were just going to these jobs. But again, with the pandemic and people being willing to do some self-reflection, you're looking at your job and saying, I just don't feel excited by this anymore. I don't feel, like there's anything new happening. I don't feel like anything fresh is happening. I just really feel underwhelmed by the whole thing. And then number 4, you're underskilled. And what I mean by underskilled is that you've been in the same job for, a period of time or for several years, and you haven't had the opportunity to develop your skills in any sort of way. You haven't been able to take, whether it's learning and development, any sort of courses, you haven't been able to shift opportunities, you haven't been promoted, you haven't been given a new portfolio or anything challenging to help expand your skill set. And so you feel like you're almost in a bit of a rut. And then finally, that last one there is that you're under living. And what I mean by under living is that you've taken a step back and said, this job is not serving the life that I want. When I look at what I want my life to be, I feel like I'm just surviving. I feel like I'm not thriving. I don't feel like in all areas of my life, I'm where I need to be. And this job is draining me. And so, if any of those resonate with you, underutilized, undercompensated, underwhelmed, you're just bored, underskilled, you don't feel like you're developing. And then, like I said, under living, you feel like you're just surviving, you're not thriving, you're not winning. You feel like you're just, kind of going from day to day.
Hey, Jay, somebody jumped in and said overworked.
Overworked. So you could actually put some of these going the other direction, right? So overutilized. So you're feeling like you're overstretched and overwhelmed. So two of these we could actually go in the other direction. I don't want to say that anybody's overcompensated. We're happy when we get coins, but definitely you could be overutilized, being stretched thin, and overwhelmed. That there's just so much new happening in your organization and you can't really keep up. So definitely can go the other direction on those as well. But if these resonate with you, let's go ahead and hop into the next slide so we can talk a little bit about my 3-step model.
I have a question for you though.
Yes,
so, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you find that people typically make the transition or make the decision to make the transition when they have two of those factors playing?
So I find that there are people who will make the change or want to make the change if there's only one of those. It doesn't even have to be two. So you find that, people, when they're doing that self-reflection, and like I said, the pandemic really opened the door because people saw the opportunity, the working from home and all of that, and they had time to think. And they said, I'm overwhelmed or I'm underwhelmed. I'm not getting paid what I'm worth. And I've got all these skills. I'm not living the life that I want, because when you're just commuting and you're punching a clock every day, a lot of times you're not doing the assessment of what is my life like, right? You're just getting the paycheck, paying the bills, doing what you need to do. But when you have that kind of downtime, because you don't have to commute, you have time with your family, you have the chance to reassess what's important to you. And, when you're in the corporate grind, like I said, pre-COVID, a lot of us didn't have time to do that assessment. So for a lot of folks, it's only one of those things have to be checked off. And they're like, you know what? It's about that time. So let's go ahead and hop into the 3-step model here. And I called it APE because I think so. Shout out to Beyonce if everybody knows what song starts with APE in it. But I think because when you hear somebody saying they're going to go APE, it means angry. But the way that I flipped it is that it means going hard. It means going after what you want. It means being focused, laser focused, that you have a game plan and you're relentless about executing and succeeding with that. So with that frame of mind, it helps you to, when you step into the career transition, that you're not going to half-step this process. You're not going to try to do just a little bit and then wonder why your career transition isn't going to be successful. That you're willing to put in the work required, you're willing to do all the things required in order to execute a successful transition. Because it's not an overnight thing. It takes work, but it can be successful. And so APE stands for first you assess, then you prepare, and then after that, you execute. So let's go ahead and take a deeper look at each of these. So on the next slide, we'll first talk about assess. So I have the assess portion, broken down into four buckets here. So the first one is evaluating your personal rationale for the transition. Just because everybody's jumping into a tech job, that's not a reason for you to say, I want to transition into tech. It's about why do you want to make a transition? So thinking back to some of the reasons that we reflected on, whether you're feeling over or underwhelmed, or you're not feeling compensated, what's the reason that you want to make this transition? And I would also caution folks about making a transition if you're just temporarily frustrated. Your boss got on your nerves and you had a disconnect and it's like, well, I'm going to go and start over a whole new career. Keep in mind that a lot of times bosses change or you change jobs. And so, you don't want to make a permanent decision just based on temporary frustration. So really take the time to assess, why do I even want to do this? And what's the value in it for me? And so the next two are examining all alternative career opportunities and defining your career, your transition destination. The thing is, not all career transitions have to be earth-shattering. You don't have to go from I'm going to be a doctor and then tomorrow I'm going to be a sales rep or something like that. Sometimes it's that you're taking the same skill set, but perhaps you're shifting industry. So for example, I'll talk about my own career transition. When I first started in finance, I was working in the financial services industry. I worked in one of the major banks. And I decided that I didn't want to work in banking anymore. So I went back to school, got my MBA, and I got back into finance, but I got into the oil and gas sector instead. And so I was able to still leverage a lot of my finance skills, but I said, this industry, the financial services industry, is not serving me. I really want to get into something where I can more tangibly see the impact on the world. And, in oil and gas, you're seeing energy, seeing it going to people's homes. You see what, cars on the road, you see the chemical products that are in the rubbers and the plastics. So I was able to see more tangibly kind of the fruit of the work of the company. So, but I still had the same finance skills. So it doesn't have to be that it has to be an earth-shattering transition. So just wanted to speak to that really, really quickly. And then to determine the specific requirements. So, again, thinking about where it is that you want to go, it may require different things. Do you have to go back to school? Does it require some level of financial investment? Are you over, and you have to think about, am I financially ready for this? And what kind of timeline will this take? And obviously to determine the specific requirements, it's going to take some time to research, but it's important for you to assess what all is going to go into this process for me to make this change, because you have to understand, is this time in my life, can I do this right now? Am I ready for this? Do I have what it takes? Am I willing to do what it takes? And when you look at the requirements associated with that, it may be that you say, hey, I'm willing to take this time or not. So that's the first step. So any thoughts here, Ken, on the assess side?
You know what? I think you provide some really valid points, but you know what it made me start thinking about? As people typically look at career transitions, I think they always look at moving outside of their current organization, but some of these companies are so large and so multi-layered that you can make a transition internally. And through some of the professional development you spoke about, through just natural networking, you may be able to position yourself internally to pivot or do a career transition without leaving out the doors of that particular institution.
Absolutely. When I say I have so many friends who work for these multinational firms, and I had a friend who was in supply chain, a supply chain professional, and dealing with logistics and all that. And he shifted into sales, and so he started glad handing and kissing babies and making sales, right? And I had a friend who was in finance with me, and she got into business development because she saw that she had a skill for talking to people and persuasion and getting deals done, and so she wanted to shift her skill set within the same company. Because the company was large enough to say, whatever career path you have, if you can network the right way, get sponsors and mentors, and that should be another conversation, Ken, about getting sponsors and mentors and the difference between the two. But making sure that you are able to kind of transition within the organization. That way you don't have to learn a new culture. There's always the issue with, trading the devil for the devil you don't. And so if there's an opportunity within your organization for you to transition and to get on a better team, because maybe the team that you have is also stifling. But if you're able to transition your skills into a new area, you can get into a new team with new management, new energy, and still achieve your goals for sure.
Definitely. We speak about sponsors and mentors a lot on the Digital Career Success Series, just organically and naturally in our process. So I know Jason had asked if this recording would be available to attendees. Yes, indeed it will. And you'll be able to probably find it as early as Friday on the Urban League Jobs Network YouTube channel. So please check that out. Julia Rock will be with us forever on the YouTube channel. So that's what we're talking about. All right, thanks for the question, Jason. I appreciate it. Julia, you're back on.
All right, so let's transition into the P right now. So next page. Actually, I lied. So I have an extra slide here on key questions. So these are two key questions I want you guys to ask yourselves. When it comes to making a career transition, what's my mental state? What's my emotional state? And what's my financial state? Simply because going through a career transition, as I mentioned earlier, is not an easy process. Some people, they may have some luck and they've got a guy or got a friend who can get them in. But in the base case, it does take work for you to reposition your resume and all these things. And it may take a toll depending on what direction you're going in on your family. If you have to re-enroll in a program or ready for all of this. And then the second question there, what fears do I have about making this transition? A lot of us, we have, whether it's imposter syndrome or the fear of the unknown that can keep us kind of stuck where we are. So it's really important to think about what fears do I have that would block me from doing this, and what can I do to address those? So again, if it's that, hey, I'm not sure I have the skills to make this transition, it's about assessing, what skills do I have? Or if I need a certification, do I have the money for this? Is there a payment plan option? Is there something, is the certification being sponsored by anyone? Could you get it from your current organization? Do they pay for professional development? I always say, use your organization for all they're willing to give you, because they're using your time and your expertise. Use them for the professional development opportunities that they offer.
All right.
And so,
we got to check in on this.
Ken.
We got to check in on this. I didn't want to stop you, but we had someone share that, age is a big fear of theirs. What do you have? What type of advice do you have for individuals that may believe that they're kind of aging out of transition possibilities? It just seems like right now, with all the information that's available through, all the stuff that's available even online, where you can acquire skills and learn different, just different skills to allow you to move lateral or, forward within your organization through tech. It just seems like the whole age question, maybe, I'm not saying it's dying down, but I think people are positioning themselves better in the space, even as they're aging through their career.
Yeah, and we also have to keep in mind the fact that companies right now are short of resources. They're short of resources because everyone's jumping ship, the Gen Zers and some of kind of the later age, or the earlier age millennials, folks are jumping ship. And so they're looking for, well, where can we get some expertise to help build some stability in our organization and start to build some knowledge, because you're getting all these people with different kind of varied backgrounds. And so if you've got some expertise that can help to provide some structure, some stability, some process. And so if you've got some fears about age, I would say pivot that age mindset into, how can I capture all of this experience and value? It's not about just saying, okay, I've got years of experience. It's not about the years of experience. It's about, what have I done in those years? Because companies are looking to pay you for what you're going to do for them. And so you need to be able to position that, over all these years of experience, this is what I've been able to accomplish. This is the business I've been able to drive, even, throughout my career. So don't, yes, earlier in your career you may have done things, but then even showing up until this point in your career. So even as you're older, you've still been creating impact. You've still been directing people, driving strategy, driving innovation, because they're gonna be looking for that. As a lot of the younger employees are bouncing around from here to there, they know that if they can get certain people at a certain age, that these folks aren't looking to hop around, right? So if you're able to show more so the value, the impact, the accomplishments, don't just focus on years of experience, because that's the conversation I've had a lot with a lot of candidates. Like, oh, I've got a lot of years of experience. And it's like, yes, and that can help to drive the conversation towards your age, but it's like, what have you done, accomplished, driven, impacted over those years?
Man, that's such a great answer. We had JT O'Donnell on.
JT, yeah.
Yeah, we had JT on. She's so amazing. But one of the things she speaks about regarding the ageism discussion is that a lot of senior candidates come in and they might interview with someone junior to them or younger to them. And they start speaking about what they know and what they've done. But really, maybe the conversation should be how they're still a continuous learner and they're looking for an opportunity to come in and partner and use the value and the skill sets that they possess, but also to acquire new skill sets and to learn kind of different ways, and that they just position themselves as not someone that's going to come in and say, hey, we should be doing it this way because this is the way we did it 10 years ago, but someone that says, you know what, I love this new technology or this new way of doing things. And I honestly believe that it aligns well with some of my experiences in the past, right? And then kind of move forward like that. But it's real. Ageism is real, to what someone said in the chat. But there are ways to combat it just through seeming and presenting yourself as an open candidate, open to learning, open to growing, and open to being respectful to some of your younger colleagues.
And I know that we've got to step to the next slide, but I really want to go back to that about, making sure that your skills stay relevant. You have to make sure that your skills stay relevant. I mean, I know there are people that can use certain technology that are way older than me, that they can use certain things better than me, but it's because they've taken the time to get on, whether it's Udemy, Coursera, any of these places, taking the time. And a lot of those things are either free or low cost. So being able to leverage the resources available to you to keep yourself sharp. If they want to make age a blocker for you, it is your role to show them that age doesn't define you, that you can compete with the best of them because you've got better skills on XYZ software, XYZ application. You've got better skills than any of these young folks coming out. So it's up to you to keep your skills relevant. So that's a really important point. So we'll go ahead and hop in. I believe the next slide is P. Okay, I got it together now. We're back. So I have 4 steps here when it comes to preparing. So now that we've assessed, we've taken our step back to say, okay, why do I want to make this change? What do I really want to do? What is it going to take to get there? Now we got to get into the preparation phase. So the first thing is analyzing existing skills and previous experiences. So in the assess phase, you understood, well, what are the specific requirements? And now you need to see, how does my experience and skill set align with that? And where are there gaps? What are the gaps that may be there? And so, let's think about if you wanted to go into the project management, for example, what project management have you done already? Is it sufficient what you've done from a prior job or volunteer or community experience? Or is it that you have to go get your PMP certification? What does it take there? So really analyzing, what do I have to work within my toolkit and from my prior experiences? The next thing is to then develop the timeline. So again, if we determine the requirements, so what does it need? I needed this certification, I need this degree, etc. Now that we're in the preparation phase, how long is it going to take to get there? And how long do you want to stay in your current organization before you make that leap? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it tomorrow? What is your timeline? And then matching that up with, well, what are the requirements that I need? Because yes, you may want to leave tomorrow, but if in order to be effective and to have a marketable chance in this role, it's going to take you a year to get the certification. You've got to build that year into your plan. The third thing is to use your network to provide perspective. I can't stress this enough. If you're just Googling things to your heart's content, you're not getting, truly the insider perspective on what it takes to make that kind of change. Everything looks nice on the internet. I'm sure I could make myself look like a millionaire on the internet with the right photos. But the truth is, if you can speak to people at different organizations, so thinking about how deep your network is, whether it's your church organization, your sororities and fraternities, professional associations, your current work network, prior jobs, use your network to see, what does it take to make transitions? And it may not even be that they've transitioned into the specific role that you've gone into, but they can provide perspective on, here's some of the roadblocks that you may find yourself, getting into. Here are things that you need to think about. Here are people that you should start building relationships with. So making sure that you're using your network at your disposal. I know sometimes, people of color, we do the whole, I want to struggle and do it myself. I want to be Kobe in the fourth quarter, putting the team on my back. But it's like, the truth is, other ethnic groups, they have no problem with using what's around them, using their resources, name dropping, so forth and so on. And so especially for people of color and Black folks especially, we need to use what we have, use our networks to the fullest that we can. And then fourth, now that we've done all this kind of analysis and timeline, it's now time for you to design your action plan. So now you've pretty much, you've looked at the GPS and seen the destination, and now it's about putting the steps in place. So who do you now need to start engaging with? Who do you need to start networking with? Where do you need to start spending your time? So really starting to build that action plan as to what do I need to do? How do I need to update? We're going to talk about pivoting your professional brand in a second, but how do I need to update my resume and cover letter and LinkedIn? And that may be part of using your network to see how they've organized things, or seeing how other people who have made this shift, taking a look and see, okay, well, what do I need to do in order to get into this space? So that step 4 is really getting down into the nitty gritty of what do I need to do now in order to start to execute? I don't know if you had any thoughts that you want to hop in with here, Kenneth.
Listen, I love it because Kevin had a question about how important is LinkedIn and networking. And really, you broke it down in these 4 steps, right? Because this is what you're going to do. You're going to leverage a tool like LinkedIn to analyze not only your skill set, but the skill sets of those that are currently in the role that you're looking for. And then also you develop a timeline and an action plan on your networking on LinkedIn, right? And then you use those connections and that network through informational interviews and just through conversations to gain perspective on kind of what it is that you're looking to do and if it's right for you. And then you use that collateral to create and design an action plan through those conversations, mentorship, sponsorship, and just general knowledge by watching SMEs in the space, subject matter experts in the space. You mentioned PMP certs. So like sometimes that's the piece, right? You might need project management certification to advance and do a certain job. So you completely laid out the question that Kevin asked regarding LinkedIn. It's vital. It's a great tool. It's a great resource. It's not a sole resource, but there's not much more out here that delivers for free like LinkedIn.
Facts. And I want to go back to the ageism piece, because there's certain folks who are older in their career who are not even using LinkedIn. Or their LinkedIn is some sort of skeleton, right? Like it's a photo and nothing else, right? Job titles and there's nothing else. There's nothing in your about section. As an older person in the space, you need to show that you can be contemporary using the platforms that everyone else is using. And if you don't know how to use LinkedIn, try to find, there are courses out there, there are gurus out there, there's free resources to teach you how to use LinkedIn. And I will say it's not just about LinkedIn. There are other spaces, there are other social media platforms as well. If you have, I don't do Facebook, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sure other people are using it. I just can't get into it, y'all. I'm sorry. But a place that I have found that has been really great for networking is Twitter. I've met so many people that whether it's I've done a podcast or I've done a whatever, just through being on Twitter and sharing valuable content. So, but if you're saying, hey, I can't do all the things all the time, that's okay. I would highly recommend, if you're trying to figure out where to spend your efforts, start with LinkedIn. If you don't know how to use it, use the free resources so that you know what to put where, what keywords to use, or hire somebody. So I definitely want you guys to use the tools at your disposal. All right, so let's get into the final one, execute. So next slide. So now it's time to put the plan in motion. We've assessed, we've prepared, and now we're getting after it. Now we're getting into it. So the first thing is to utilize free and paid resources. I want to emphasize this here because beyond just, having to pay for a certification, you also may need to think of, if you see some premium resources, see some free resources, and the next level of resource that's paid may give you the content that you need, be willing to pay for it. I know that we all love the DIY and the free 99, but to get to the level of elevation you're trying to get to the success you're trying to get to, free may just not get you there. So assess and go ahead and see if you can utilize some paid resources as well. Then you want to make sure that you're pursuing additional academic and professional requirements as needed. As we talked about in your assess and preparation phase, you should have thought through, what else do I need? Do I need a PMP? Do I need some sort of accelerated tech boot camp? What do I need to do? And let me go ahead and pursue those things as soon as possible. And then pivot your professional and personal brand. So this is important here, because you can say that, so going back to my friend in supply chain, he can say that he's now a sales professional, but the truth is if your profile online still says that you're in supply chain, those are the opportunities that you're going to be given or called for by recruiters. So it's important that wherever your message is online, wherever you show up, your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, online website, portfolio, whatever it is that you have, social media, wherever you are, that message should be consistent, so that no matter where people find you, no matter where they research you, that they're seeing the same message, that now you're a sales professional, you're leveraging your skills from supply chain into a sales career, and here's the stuff that you've done that helps to feed this new opportunity. Then leverage and expand your network. Again, I will harp on this till the day I die. It is so important for you to leverage and expand your network. It's not just sufficient to stay with the people you know. It's important to continue to expand, because you never know, who that next person may be able to introduce you to, the opportunity, the door that they can open for you. And this is not just through career transitions. After you get the job, you still need to continue to do this activity, making sure that you have a network that's broad reaching, so that should you ever need to tap into them again, that you have the right people that you can leverage. And then the last item here is give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. It seems like there's a lot that's packed into making this career transition. And so it's so essential that as you're going through this process, that you give yourself grace. You may not get the job the first go round. You may have to revise your LinkedIn profile a couple of times. You may have to have more than one conversation, more than 10 conversations. It may take some work. But don't beat yourself up if you don't get that first opportunity. It takes work to transit. Job searching in the base case is a full-time job, much less a career transition. So you've got to give yourself some grace. I don't know if you had any thoughts here, Kenneth, on the execute.
Yeah, I think everything you mentioned is so valid, and it's the process, right? You're going to get some no's. You're going to get some discouragement through your process. But that should all be viewed as a learning experience, right? You're out here in the space. Trust me, you can leverage LinkedIn effectively, really by kind of watching how other people are doing it. Like you can get on Twitter and kind of just for a minute, just view what Julia's out here doing, and then position yourself through some of the same activities in your field of choice, right? It's so, I'm not going to say easy, but I think it's really possible and effective to become someone of value in your space, right? And you just start positioning yourself through content, through showing up. Like a lot of people just go to LinkedIn and they'll like some things, but leave a comment, be an active user of the platform. And it could be as something as simple as commenting on someone's article that you just believe was good work. I'll be completely transparent. I've never personally met Julia, but for the last 3 years, we've connected through and actually have done a couple projects together. Like this is the work that LinkedIn and social media has provided for us. So she's here today because the two of us connected on social platforms, and I just watched how she moves and the work she's doing. And I realized that she's a subject matter expert in the space that she's in. So we're here today. So this can be you.
Exactly. And I think it's key where you said about, positioning yourself as a subject matter expert. If you're putting out the content, you don't know who's watching. I can't tell you how many DMs I've gotten from people who said, I was watching your content, your career tips helped me to get a job, your salary tips helped me to get a raise. And I had never spoken to the people, but because I was putting out content and articles and other things, they were able to take those things and use them for their own benefit, but again, it was because I was putting out there that I'm a subject matter expert on certain things. And so just want to talk about LinkedIn and then we'll start to wrap this up. When it comes to LinkedIn, making sure that you're using all the features that are there. So posting, whether it's putting video content, writing articles, making sure that you're leveraging every opportunity to show your skill set. And you don't even have to be fully completed with your academic program or your professional training. You don't even have to be there yet, but sharing what you know, sharing what you've learned, and showing how you're going to apply it in your new opportunity. People are watching that. And so if you're consistent with sharing that, people are going to see, okay, so, Kenneth actually knows what he's talking about, because that's something that we're working on or something that we're thinking about. And now, even if they don't reach out to you, they may start to watch you, and it may take a little while, but then they may reach out to say, hey, I've been following you on this. We've actually got this problem at our firm. Do you think you could help us? And that's how it happens. And so let's go ahead and get into the pep talk. I want to give you guys a pep talk before we wrap this up. So next slide.
Yes.
I don't even know which slides what order my slides are in. I'm gonna get it together. I promise. But thinking about the brand pivot, as we just talked about. So when it comes to the brand pivot, as I mentioned, every social space you're on, every place you are on online, it's going to be important for the message to be consistent. And you see here, we talked about some of these other ones, but I want to stop on professional associations, simply because a lot of times with professional associations, you have a profile and people can connect with you based on your profile and based on similar interests and all that kind of stuff. So it's important that it's not just on kind of the printed written document or where people can read, but also in places that you engage with, because that's also somewhere that you're going to network. Professional organizations and associations, so marketing associations, finance associations, all that kind of stuff, that's where you're going to be able to meet people in your space. And so it's important that when you shift your brand, to going back to the sales example, that message is consistent, so that people who are looking to connect with others in the group are seeing that, that this is a person that I need to connect with because they're in my space, they have a similar skill set, or they may have the tools that I need. And so it's so important to make sure that your branding is consistent across all of these items.
That's so important. As a third-party recruiter, companies come to us when they're looking to add diverse talent to their recruitment pipelines. So when we start recruiting people actively for our business partners, that's the piece for us. We find out who the influencers are and the experts in the space, and we Google them through. And if there's inconsistencies in the messaging, because LinkedIn has a great algorithm, so they're going to come up on the top of the search. Like your LinkedIn profile is going to come up early in that search, and we're going to click on it. And if that information doesn't align with the information that we have on a resume or through a professional association that we've seen you involved in, then that's immediately a backtrack. Like, we're going to move on. So it's really important. And sometimes that's not your fault. It's just that you didn't choose to update the story. So you have to stay consistent across all platforms.
Absolutely. Again, and so it's about taking the time to make the brand pivot. It's not just about saying, I want to make a transition. It's about putting in the work to make sure your brand pivot is consistent across all platforms. All right, so let's head into the next slide. We're wrapping this up. So just to reemphasize some points here, as we're wrapping this up. One, going back to giving yourself grace. It may not be easy. You may not get no, or you may not get a yes. You may get some no's up front, but give yourself some grace in the process. But the one thing I want to hone in on this slide is remember your why. So when you're getting those no's and you're feeling a little bit down, remember your why. If you felt like you were under living in your last job, is it worth it to give up on the transition because it's just difficult and you've gotten a few no's? Do you want to go back to under living? Do you want to go back to being under or overwhelmed? Do you want to go back to being underutilized? If the answer to those things is no, you'll have to continue to push forward. So remember your why in this process. And then finally, reflect on your past successes. there's a reason that you've gotten to the level of success and position that you've gotten to. It's not by accident. It's because you are good at what you do. You have a great skill set. You have expertise that is valuable. So as you're going through this process, and if you hit some roadblocks, remember that you're not here by accident. It's because of, it's because of what you bring to the table that you've gotten as far as you had. So sometimes you may have to write on your brag sheet, and remember the time that you saved the company this money, or that you had this process efficiency or whatever, just to give yourself that confidence boost to know that, listen, any company would be lucky to have me. So yes, this company said no, but there's another 10 out there that would be lucky to have me because of what I can do and what I bring to the table. So I'm not going to sweat the one over here. I'm going to go after the 10 over here. So just wanted to give you guys that pep talk. Give yourself some grace, remember your why, and reflect on your past successes.
You know what? Talk that talk. You did just do a salary negotiation workshop, because you're talking about brag sheets and everything.
Listen.
I'm like, okay, I see where that's coming from. I love it. I love it.
Listen, you got to pop your collar at least a little bit, a little bit. Sometimes you have to pop your collar for yourself to remind yourself who you are. Sometimes the jobs that we have will beat us down to the point where we forget how dope we are, how much we've accomplished. And so it's important for us to reflect on our past successes so that we can have the confidence to move forward.
All right, so let's jump through here with some Q&A real quick.
Yes.
I know we're running. Oh, you still got wrap up stuff. I don't want to jump out of you, so go ahead and get this through.
Yeah, let me get it together. But the wrap up was just 3 things, and we'll hop into the questions because the slides will be available for everybody. So 1, time has not run out for your career transition. So if you've been thinking about career transition and you've been kind of hemming and hawing and you're not sure if you should go ahead and do it, still go after it. You still have time to go after your career transition. Transition starts in the mind. So knowing and deciding that you want to make this transition, it starts there, and knowing your why and knowing what you want to accomplish, it starts in the mind. And then finally, now's the time to go ape. Now's the time to go after it. Assess, prepare, and execute. Let's go. And then the last thing here is just some tools and resources that'll, so if you want to decide on kind of what career you want to go into, I have some career and aptitude and personality tests there that you can click on and see if any of those will work for you. You can also try some, like I talked about earlier, Udemy, being able to use some online courses to help to build your tool belt. I also recommend getting a paid career coach. You can't DIY everything yourself. You may need some outside assistance to help you think objectively about this transition. And then finally, for LinkedIn and industry-specific resources, these are tools that you can leverage to network as well as to learn more about the field that you're going into. And so that's
all right, I'm gonna plug through. You can also jump into Black Box. It's a career consciousness portal for Black men. We have a ton of resources and information in the platform that allows you to kind of navigate and answer some of the questions that you would actually share with a career coach or a mentor. So that's the purpose of that platform. So please don't hesitate to jump in there. So Julia, we had a question, and this individual was asking, were you referring to paid training courses or paid boot camps that help with placements into jobs? Now, I'm not a big person on the paying to get a job, right? I know what happens, and there are some places that really provide great service because you're really not paying to get a job, you're paying to get a training, and then they offer job placement services. And that could be like the Google Career Certificates, right? We're part of the Grow with Google Career Consortium, and I understand that people do pay to get that coursework and training, but then they forward those candidates on to us and the other companies that are their partners and help them secure employment. So what were you speaking of, or were you speaking of it holistically?
I was speaking of it holistically. So when I say kind of paid resources or paid requirements, it's about paid trainings that will enable you and with the right skills in order for you to make the transition, because you may not have those skills now. And so you may have to pay for these trainings or these certifications or these activities in order to better position yourself and make yourself marketable. Obviously, if there's a place for you to get those skills and then they want to hand deliver you a job, I mean, we're not going to turn it down. I mean, that's better work. That's less work for you. But it was more holistically about what can you pay for in order to better enable yourself and position yourself to secure the opportunity.
Got it. So we have a question in the Q&A, and it asks, should you list sororities or fraternity organizations on resumes and LinkedIn, or do employees not want to see that?
So I will say that leveraging, especially on your LinkedIn profile as well, leveraging your sororities and fraternities, because I will tell you that I can count probably on both hands how many people that I know who have gotten jobs or gotten connections or gotten opportunities because they were an Alpha or a Kappa or a Delta or an AKA, just because the hiring manager was a Delta, AKA Kappa, whatever. So I would say that, that's something to use to your advantage, because a lot of these powerful people in some of these organizations, they've gone through those. So I would say, especially on LinkedIn, because then you can also connect with some of the groups that are on there. Or people who are looking to build the groups out may come and see that on your profile. So definitely leverage that, because some people in power may be part of those organizations as well.
And also, we use applicant tracking systems and searchable databases to recruit for diversity, right? So like Seek Out and Loxo, they're two of the big databases that offer diversity filters. So as a recruiter, when we go in and click that box, and it might say, Black or African American or Latinx, right? The spiders in the system that are searching the database, they're trying to look for those fraternities and sororities or any keyword that may signify that this person is of a certain group. And HBCUs, like they're looking for all of these keywords, and then they'll bring back those search results to us. So we know that chances are this person's probably, like, it's an Alpha, like they're a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. So we're like, okay, chances are it's an African American male, right? Right. And then we can kind of search through. So in today's world, with companies really looking to stay true or at least advance their diversity and inclusion mission, that's not a bad thing to have that type of stuff on your resume, because it may put you in some searches that you might not have came up in naturally.
Absolutely. All right, next question. I want to make sure that we hit as many as we can. Are you on mute, Ken?
Yeah, I was. So listen, I'm looking in the Q&A. Please drop your questions in the Q&A. I'm walking through the chat. Let's see. You know what, Julia, if you can, speak a little more about some of the free resources. I know you mentioned like there were very affordable courses on Coursera, but if there are any other resources that you think individuals could leverage to really assist and support their career transition.
So some universities have launched kind of free or low cost online courses. I think Harvard or Yale did that. So I would look into some universities to see what free programming they now offer. And it may not even just have to be, premium or Ivy League schools. What schools are offering free resources and free courses to kind of help you? And then, like I said, the other thing that I would say is, if you're currently employed, what can you use from your workplace? And then also LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning has a number of different courses there as well. So I would also check that out. So Coursera, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, some of these Ivy League schools that have now offered free or low cost education, whether you have local universities and colleges that are offering opportunities for learning, any of those can be helpful as well.
All right, Julia, we rolling. Can you speak about artificial intelligence and applicant tracking systems and tailoring your resume to every job you apply to? If you don't want to take this one, I got you, but go and take us.
Well, I'll start it and you can finish this off. But I will say that I'm a big proponent of optimizing your resume for every job that you're applying to, because the ATS systems, they're looking for certain keywords. So if you're trying to have this cookie cutter resume for 5 different jobs, all 5 of those jobs are not looking for the same keywords. So it's important. And I know that some people, they feel like, oh, well, I'll just put the keywords in white font and then I'll hide it in the back. You don't need gimmicks like that if you're weaving it into the content of your resume. If you have a skills section, putting it in your job experience. If you're actively weaving the skills and keywords into the content, you don't have to have the gimmicks. But I will say it's critically important for you to do the tailoring. I know it seems tedious, But I will also say, you want the new job, right? So, if you want the new job, you got to be willing to put in the work.
And there are tricks to the game, right? You can take the job description and put it in a word cloud creator. And then once you do that, the words that are highlighted in the center and are larger are probably the keywords for the position description. And you can do that and then make sure, to Julia's point, that you're able to seamlessly add those into your resume in critical places, right? Summary, position descriptions, things of that nature, because it will allow you to rate higher in the applicant tracking system. And with that being said, hopefully you'll get on the radar of the hiring influencer. But that's just one part of the process. You're still going to have to network through and position yourself, because they're getting thousands of resumes per opening. So yes, it's great to use a different resume for every job that you apply to. You have to do that, but also don't think that that's it. Still try to network through with the hiring manager if possible. All right, so let's give another question here. Hi, Julia. Do you have any tips for transitioning lawyers specifically? Some employees have communicated that I was overqualified by virtue of having a JD, but at the same time, underqualified for the role because I don't have direct experience.
So I think it depends on what role you're applying to, and so I don't have enough context as to the role, but what I will say is, from the legal profession, you have to think about what are the skills that are going to be transferable. So as a lawyer, negotiation and client engagement are things that you have to do in the base case. So if you're thinking about transitioning to a new career, are you looking to a space for where you can leverage those skills? Even if you don't have the prior experience or have in that particular industry, is there a way for you to position on your resume, this is the work that I did that's relevant to what I'm going to now? So again, going back to whether it's client engagement, negotiation, project management, case management, whatever it might be, those are things that you may be able to pivot into a new career, but it just depends on how are you positioning that for people to see. But without more context, I don't know what role you're going into, but you can get with me separately and I can hopefully answer some more questions for you.
Yeah, and actually there are questions in the Q&A. We need to wrap up, but please don't hesitate to connect with myself or Julia on LinkedIn, or whatever Julia prefers as our contact method. Here you go. You can connect with Julia, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, website. I told you, our people are the best at the Digital Career Success Series. You see Dory putting that rate up at the time. And if you want to connect with myself, right, you can do Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or go to the East Coast Executives website. We will try to add value in every interaction. Please do not hesitate to reach out to Julia or myself. All right, Julia, next week, we got a big one, right? If someone's looking for a summer internship, you got to join us February 16th. It's a special conversation with Benjamin Moore, Talent Acquisition Manager, Paul Newman. He's going to give us insight on Benjamin Moore's summer internship program. And that's February 16th at 6 p.m. So note the time. It's a different time. What I'd like to do right now on behalf of the National Urban League, Wanda Jackson, Dory Brown, and the team, Kanjit, Dave, I'd like to thank you, Julia, for making this a very, very special Digital Career Success Series.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kenneth. I appreciate you guys being flexible with the time on me on my presentation. Thank you, guys. Hopefully everyone found this to be informative. Thank you so much for attending.
Nah, we're pros over here. We got it done. It's 1 o'clock right now. We're good. Ladies and gentlemen, Julia Rock, once again, join us February 16th. Secure the Bag, sponsored by Benjamin Moore. Let's do it.